So we'll go ahead and get started now that we're, I don't know, 15 minutes late.
What's up,
At
nerds?
least it wasn't an instantaneous launch window, so we're here,
That's
we're good to
funny.
go. So welcome to this week's Kármán Line Café and Orbital Velocity podcast, where we have casual conversations about spaceflight. I want to once again welcome Sarah
Hello.
to joining us. Brandon couldn't make it this week, but that's all right. He is doing other things.
Real life
Sarah,
stuff.
yep, we all have lives. Um, Sarah, I was gonna say I don't think I ever put any of your social media handles in the description. So if you just can
Just
tell
a little nerd
everybody,
TV.
yeah, just is that all you want to tell people where to find you at? Is Little Nerd TV,
Yeah.
Little Nerd?
All the main socials are Little Nerd TV.
Okay, and I will be sure to get that in the description. Um, so anyway, so there's that, and before we get started, go ahead and be sure to like this video if you haven't already, and share with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This week, we're going to be talking about, well, I think the main story we're going to be talking about is what everybody else is talking about in the space news industry is Starliner stranded? Short answer is no. I'm not gonna clickbait you guys on this. It's not stranded. A lot of this stuff is it's a combination of media hype, in my personal opinion, a little bit of combination of media hype, because hearing two astronauts are stuck stranded on a space station, and it's going to get you to click. And to be fair, Boeing's communications has not really been the greatest. So, Sarah, what do you know about all this?
Yeah, I just seen a little bit on X. Here and there. Excited to know more actually. I don't really know what's going on.
Oh, it's fine. Well, basically, last week when we had our conversation, it was Starliner was supposed to be coming home on the 26th, I believe, and then late Friday evening, they had a news dump where they basically said, "No, we're not going to be coming home on the 26th. We're gonna wait until after the spacewalks, give us more time to process the data when it comes to Starliner service module and so on and so forth." And there was this press release as well. Um, Give me just a second here. Da, da, da. Let's see. You just said you can't hear me. Hold on, we got technical difficulties again. Kind of like Starliner having technical difficulties. Hang on. Stand by. See if it's something I did wrong. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. She's gonna log out and log back in.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you
Alright.
again. There
What in
we
the
go.
world?
That was weird. It's been a glitchy
Oh,
evening, guys.
Discord's shaky.
Yep. Hopefully things aren't glitchy on your guys' end. Let me know in the chat if there's any weird, stuttering. If you guys can hear me 5x5, all that stuff. Let me know. I will keep an eye on the chat as best as possible. But for now,
Alright, so yeah.
what did you hear last?
You had just started the Starliner.
Okay, so Starliner was supposed to come home on the 26th. They have postponed that to no earlier than after the two spacewalks that are scheduled for the 24th. That's tomorrow. We'll get to that later, as well as July 2nd. Um, and that happened to be occur. They made that announcement, like, I think it was a late afternoon, maybe even late evening or early evening, kind of a news dump, NASA press release that says that basically said this, which obviously gets people speculating and talking about, oh, are the astronauts stuck or on the space station? Why so many delays? Which, to be fair, I get that. You said they were going to go home on, what was the first one, the 18th, and then
Yeah.
they said, nope, just kidding, we're going to go home on the 26th. Nope, just kidding, maybe sometime early July. So that's understandable. A little bit of a, if you want to stay up there for a long period of time, just tell us. But they are not stuck in space like some sensational headlines like to point out.
Did they say why? They
Yes,
pushed it back.
I'm actually pulling up the press release right now, at least on my end, and I'll read a little excerpt from that. Where are we at? If I have everything, if I had things organized. So the I'm trying to get things a little bit more organized. Okay, let's say they adjust the timeline. So reading from the press release here, they said they're adjusting the timeline from the 26th to after the two spacewalks. And the quote from Steve Stitch, which is NASA's commercial crew program manager. Let me move this so it looks like I'm at least talking to the camera and not to another screen. He said, "We are taking our time and following our standard mission management process. We are letting the data drive our decision making relative letting the data driver decision making relative to managing the small helium leaks and thruster performance we observed during rendezvous and docking." So basically, they want to have more information. It doesn't mean they're stuck. It just basically means there's the data from the leak, which again, I don't believe it's actually leaking as we speak right now. It's only when they turn the systems on and they undock and all that stuff. And in that case, this information is still the same as what we had last week, which was they have about 70 hours of helium once they start the process of going home, and they only need 7 hours of helium. They're only going to use about 7 hours.
Okay.
So, but they want more information because the service module doesn't come home. I have props. As I showed it last time too.
Go.
Let's see if I can get it off my station here. I don't know if you can hear me since I'm away from the microphone. There we go. Love the theme song there.
Thanks.
Okay, so we have Starliner. There we go. Come on, don't focus on my face. Okay, out of curiosity, last week I noticed that I was mirrored. Am I mirrored to you? Can you read NASA on there properly?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the deal, and this might be a problem for the people viewing on YouTube. Apparently, Discord will not change the mirroring for me, and I'm literally just screen grabbing off of my computer. So you beautiful viewers on YouTube are going to get the mirrored view. So basically everything's in reverse. So if there's any words, so far there's not, I'll have to at least, tell you what they are. So yes. This says Boeing to Sarah. Well, it says blur right now. Come on, there we go.
Focus, camera, come on.
You could read Boeing here, or Sarah can, but you guys can't, unfortunately. Cool. So anyway, and I'll just try to cover up my face here. So we have the crew module here, which everything is going wonderful in the crew module. All the problems are happening in these little dog houses right up here, these thruster pods. And by the way, I say all the problems, they're all manageable problems, and managers have constantly said that helium leaks, while annoying, are kind of common. They were common at least during the shuttle era in particular, as long as they're within the appropriate tolerances. So what's going on? And by the way, they said a thruster issue as well. One of all these 28 little thrusters on the service module itself. Let me try not to break my model here. Okay. The service module has, like, I think they said 28 little thrusters around all these things. And one of them ultimately, I think, malfunctioned, one of the 28, and that was during the rendezvous on the 6th. But everything else is working fine, minus the very minor leaks. So there's that. But the problem is when they undock and they separate these engines. I don't think the engines here. I think these engines back here are. Come on, blur. These engines back here are primarily used for the abort mode. So I don't think, somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think those engines are used for the deorbit burn. Let me make sure I get my chat pulled back up, so in case somebody does say something, I don't miss them. And so the thing that does the deorbit burn are the bottom. There again, the blur. Come on. There we go. The bottom thrusters here. That'll do the deorbit burn. But after that, the capsule and the service module separate, and the capsule re-enters the well, this will be shut, but the capsule will re-enter the atmosphere on its own, and this will burn up. They don't get it back. So,
oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do not get this part back. It burns up in the atmosphere. And so,
What?
while these issues are annoying and they do have to be solved for the next one, they're basically trying to find out that apparently they want to make sure they understand the problem while they have the hardware still physical, while they still have the physical hardware. Otherwise, you basically can't get any more new data. And so now, whether or not they fully understand the problem, I don't know. They have not disclosed that, but they do need to solve that problem before the full duration, the crew rotation mission currently scheduled for next, I think, February or March. So, yeah. So that's the whole reason why they're staying up there longer. I just kind of wish they would communicate that a little bit better, and maybe they have, and it's just mostly the media. Who knows? It happens all the time. That being said, it's a win-win scenario. Now we have 2 extra astronauts on the International Space Station. Hang on just a second. Make sure that's still live. I don't know why this is... I should stop looking at this preview here. Okay, so while they're up there, the International Space Station program has 2 extra sets of hands to help with experiments and do whatever they need to do there. Having extra, that's an invaluable asset there. So they could do experiments, help with cleaning, would do whatever. In addition, if they have any extra get-ahead or extra evaluation tasks, they can send them up to Butch and Sunny to do more evaluation for the capsule. But that's pretty much the long and short of why they're still up there right now. I'm trying to think through my notes here if there's anything else I wanted to make a comment on. I
know Sunny just did a... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know Sunny just did a video call to her elementary school from the ISS. I thought that was cool. She's got an elementary school named after her. I was like, what?
Does she really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, where is that? I'm gonna have to Google it.
Yeah. Do you have a video of the?
I don't. It's on the X though, like on Twitter. Okay. So
we'll have to share that.
That's cool. She video called her elementary school.
Yeah. Oh, kids love that.
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, but they're doing
so they're definitely staying busy.
They're definitely staying busy. Lots of public affairs, and I have a dog now that wants something. What do you want, Callisto?
Callisto.
Callisto, yes. Say hi. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, Callisto.
Say hi.
Cutie.
Yeah.
Smile.
You're a hit.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's funny that not to go off derailed on from my dog here. She's been quiet all for the last couple of hours. You know, I had my sister and her kids, my niece and nephews over for the weekend, and so the dog gets wore out in theory, wore out from all that. But the moment I want to start doing a podcast, she's like, "Hey, it's like attention, attention, please." Absolutely. I mean, I took her on a walk, an hour before this, so it's not like she's starved for attention or has to do anything. So, dogs are fun. So
yeah, Maui right here, he's just chilling.
Yep. I even gave her a stick to chew on while she must have finished that stick. So that was I guess it only took her about 45 minutes. That's not that bad. Exactly. Not a tree stick like a chew toy stick, but yeah. So anyway. After that derailment here, she walked away. Maybe I should just shut the door. She'll probably just bark at the door.
She's a VIP guest at this point.
Yeah, VIP
I see the Gragu.
Oh, wait, you can see
little one.
Where is it?
Behind you.
Oh, I see. There we go. Like, how do you see that? I don't see it on my camera.
Oh, I spot.
Yeah. Where was I at? Let's see. Right. So basically, yeah, it's the mission. The Starliner crew flight test. Is it going perfectly? No. No. they're 4 years, but Boeing Starliner is 4 years behind where SpaceX was. We all kind of wish they would have, launched a lot sooner. They had to have an extra test flight. There's a lot more scrutiny going on. That combined with Boeing's aviation division, which, that hasn't been taking the best PR hit lately. Just a lot of piling on's the wrong word, because sometimes it is justifiable. But in this particular case, how do I say it right?
Accountability.
Yeah. The clickbaity headlines of stuck in space just kind of really annoy me. Everything's fine with the spacecraft there. It's cleared to return. If they wanted to return now, they could. They just need to make sure they get all the data they can. It's certified to stay up there for like 45 days, I think, if I recall correctly. Oh. And the Demo 2 mission for Crew Dragon, when that happened in summer of 2020, they were up there for 2 months. Granted, it was a different situation. They didn't have these issues they were looking at, plus the ISS was shorthanded at the time. So it's not quite apples to oranges, apples to apples. But, so yeah, there's that. Let me look through my notes, see if I didn't miss anything I wanted to talk about. I think I got everything. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I didn't really know much about it, so it's cool learning.
It's entirely possible, like I said, Starliner 1 with the crew rotation mission, it's entirely possible they'll, it's supposed to launch in February or March, but it's entirely possible there's not talk of this. They still, after they land, and we'll have more landing coverage in the coming weeks when it gets closer to that. But once they land, they have to go through a certification process to make sure everything went well with the spacecraft, and what didn't go well, they can correct them in time for the crew rotation mission. But if they don't get that done in time, or they need more time, or they need to change some hardware, it's possible it could slip to next August. Oh
wow!
For Starliner 1. So currently we have Crew 8, the Crew Dragon props. Again, I love them. Models. Yeah. Oops. Again, no, these are to scale, by the way, so notice the size difference. It may be shorter, but it's wider. So
that's funny. They're like little eyeballs. Yeah. Like, yep.
Sorry. Anybody just listening to that? Yeah, I just put the capsules up to my face there. Anyway. And the dog is having the zoomies right now. I can hear her outside. I hope she doesn't get in trouble.
It's famous. He's so excited he's famous.
I know. Oh gosh. I hope we have a rug that sometimes she'll not true. She does a little zoomy dig motions every now and then, or just her forward momentum pushes the rug up sometimes. So we'll see what happens.
Gonna have to pin the rug down.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's possible they move that. Right now we got Crew 8 up there, and then this August there's going to be a crew change between Crew 8 and Crew 9, and Crew 9 in next spring was supposed to be relieved by Starliner 1. But it's possible they change that to Crew 10, and then Crew 10 is relieved by Starliner instead of Crew 9, so on and so forth. So we will see what happens there. But, you got to get through this stuff first. But Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams, they keep telling everybody the spacecraft is working fine on their end. They're having fun doing a lot more experiments, obviously doing a lot of public affairs events. Yeah. And
they're probably excited to be on the ISS.
Oh, I guarantee you they are, especially if they know it might be the last time. I mean, technically, any time is the last time you might be in space. You just never know when you get back. But
I know I would be.
Yeah, you just
like,
make
put
the
me
most.
To work.
Yeah, make the most of it, basically. To recap a little bit here, Chris Hadfield was on CNN. I don't want to show the CNN clip because that's CNN's clip, but he basically echoed a lot of the same things here. I'm going to kind of read my notes from that clip. They're basically working on the two problems, which is the helium leak and the malfunction from the rendezvous. They just want to make sure everything is understood. He says he thinks the vehicle is performing well. It got launched perfectly, it got a great orbit, and maneuvered very well, and it's docked. So they're safe on the space station docked. And he also continues, the important thing is there's now extra pair of hands, or 2 extra sets of hands on the ISS to help run the 200 plus experiments. There's a lot
Oh
going on
wow.
Space Station. They're always
Yeah.
running these experiments. Now, granted, they're not like running around to experiment 1, experiment 2, experiment 99. Some of these are autonomous experiments, but yes,
Didn't they just grow lettuce? They just grew
they've
something.
they're always growing some things. I'm not sure what
Forgot.
the
They
status of
made
that.
a post about it.
Yeah. Well, you should find that and we can talk about that next time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't. I would love to talk more about ISS experiments. It's just sometimes I don't have
Yeah.
the time for it, personally at least. So, yeah, they want to basically make sure everything's understood before they bring them home. Trying to see what else he said. The shuttle used to have thruster hydrogen and helium leaks all the time, and they just had to work around it on a regular basis. So on and so forth. So that's my spiel on that. Yep, they're going to stay longer. Probably, it will definitely be after July 2nd. Whether that means mid-July, don't know. The one constraint to returning home is they have to leave. They have to leave before. I think there's a cargo dragon is supposed to launch an early. Let me make sure I'm not lying here. Stand by. I'm going to look at the ISS schedule here.
I'm trying to look for that plant post I saw.
In July. Let's see, the spacewalk July 2nd, August 3rd. Oh, no, I guess the next major thing. So the next major activity for the 2 docking ports in the front of the space station is the return of Crew 8. And before Crew 8 returns, Crew 9 has to dock. And right now, Starliner is docked in Crew 9's parking space, so they have to leave by that point. So,
oh man,
so that they'll have to leave eventually. So, and there goes the dog. So it's probably because I'm talking to somebody and she's like, I don't know who you're talking to. Give me a second. Do you want to just talk about something?
Yeah, for sure.
Stand by. I'll be back as soon as I can.
All right, nerds. Well, I'm trying to look for that that post I saw about the ISS where they're growing vegetation. I kind of want to know what exactly it was, but I can't find it. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments. We'll see. We'll see.
Put her in another room, so there's a couple doors blocking. Maybe it was the cat she was interested in. I'm not sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have a cat named Star-Lord, and he's kind of grumpy.
Star-Lord.
Yeah. And then the dog's name, her name is Callisto.
Callisto. That's adorable.
Star-Lord was named after the character. And then Callisto was named. We actually got the dog just before I went down for what ultimately became the actual launch attempt, the actual launch of the Artemis 1 mission. And we were trying to figure out a name for her. And we trying thinking maybe mythological names, kind of going through, and my wife said, well, how about Callisto? It's like, well, there's actually there's an experiment on Artemis 1 called Callisto. Why not? So it just kind of stuck.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So yes, Callisto is kind of my little Artemis mascot, at least in my mind. Not so little anymore. She's 95 pounds, but
she's beautiful.
Yeah, she's a gorgeous dog. She's part Anatolian Shepherd, part Pyrenees Shepherd, and probably part a couple other things. Has a nice brindle pattern on her legs, and a little bit on her head a little bit too.
Oh, yeah, we have a brindle Frenchie. Name's Bernadette. We have Penny and Bernadette after the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, that's great. Let me grab my beverage here so I can hydrate myself.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers. Okay. So, after that distraction, let's see if we have any others. Was there anything else we needed to talk about? About Starship? Starliner? Too many stars out there.
With the Starliner? We talked about the spacewalks.
Wait,
Is
I
that
have
next?
that the spacewalk would be next. So I'm actually debating on whether to show the video, the spacewalk video, or just I'll probably just keep it on mute because I don't want to have a copyright issue. Although last time I did decided to show the audio, the music in the background. I obviously did not a copyright strike, but I it said, hey, you're using licensed music, so you're just going to share the revenue, which I get it, fine with that. But I had options, and one option was to completely get rid of that section, and I was inclined to do that. But the other option, which I thought was kind of neat, is using
Replace it.
you can well, it wasn't replacing it. It'll actually go through that segment, and even though there's people talking, it'll try to remove the music from behind the background music, which I'd never seen that before. Maybe it's been there for a while. I just haven't seen it. So I tested that out, and it sounded wonderful. So I liked it. So everybody still got to hear everything. So,
Let's go. All right, cool.
So spacewalks. Part of the reason for the delay, as we mentioned, was to allow more time for the 2 spacewalks that NASA is planning on conducting out of the U.S. side of the space station. The first spacewalk, US EVA 90, which is that number basically means it's the 90th spacewalk conducted from an expedition crew from the U.S. side. That doesn't count space shuttle spacewalks, and that doesn't count Russian spacewalks. In fact, tomorrow, at the end of the spacewalk, they always inevitably have the statistics on how many spacewalks there have been since the beginning of ISS construction and assembly and maintenance began in 1998. I actually don't remember how many it is, but it's several hundred. It's a lot.
That's cool. Yeah.
Actually, not to get too much into the weeds here, when they were planning the International Space Station construction, there was this whole what they called the wall of spacewalks. So before and after International Space Station construction. So I'm trying to remember how many spacewalks in the history of spaceflight, or at least U.S. spaceflight, there had been since Ed White's spacewalk in 1965 to, we'll call it 1998. I think it was maybe 100 spacewalks, maybe 150. It wasn't that many, relatively speaking. And then so you can see if you see the graph, a few spacewalks up and down here and there, and the ISS starts construction like boom. You're having 10, 20 spacewalks a year, depending on how fast the construction process is going. And so yeah, they've been doing a lot of spacewalks over the last 25 years.
Yeah, I bet as soon as the ISS was built, astronauts went crazy, like, oh, let's go to space.
Oh yeah, it's a great place to be. It's space shuttle was decently big, but also was at the same time small. When you had 7 people cramped in its crew compartment, and then you have once it was completed anyway, the massive International Space Station, which I think, gosh, what is it? The size of what did they say? A 7-bedroom house? I know maybe it's a 4-bedroom house, but the pressurized volume. No, I think the pressurized volume is the same as a 747. I think that's what it is. Now, the solar array wings, that's the size of an American football field. So, anyway, side note there. So, I'm not sure what EVA number this is for the International Space Station, other than it's the 90th expedition EVA out of the Quest airlock. That EVA was originally scheduled for, gosh, what was it, not this last Thursday. It's a little over a week ago. It was scheduled for Tracy Dyson, as well as Matt Dominic. And yeah, it was originally scheduled for those two, and then they had a spacesuit comfort.
The spacesuit.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we don't know what it was. It could have just been a fit issue. It was likely triggered because of Matt Dominic, because he's the one that was replaced for this EVA. So it's going to still be Tracy Dyson, but Mike Barrett is going to be replacing him for the spacewalk. Now, Dominic, as well as Jeanette Epps, will be supporting the two for the duration. Now, the spacewalk is starting. They're scheduled to go out of the Quest airlock tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and it'll be about a 6.5-hour spacewalk. Now, NASA TV coverage will start at about 6:30, so be sure to watch NASA TV and watch the spacewalk. It's a nice thing to have on in the background while you do other things. Unless
That's
you
really
just want to watch
cool.
it, though. I mean, you can watch it like a TV show if you want, but there's a lot of procedural, slow moving, methodic, choreographed stuff that goes on. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, there's the space. So it's going to be Tracy Dyson. I keep wanting to say Caldwell because I know that's her middle name, or something like that. But
Tracy Dyson.
Tracy Dyson and Mike Barrett. It's actually going to be the fourth spacewalk for Dyson and the third for Barrett. Interestingly, it's going to be his first in a U.S. spacesuit, the Extravehicular Mobility Unit, the EMU. His two previous spacewalks, I forget what years they were, but they were actually using Russian Orlan spacesuits, the Russian spacesuits out of the Russian side of the space station. And that was, gosh, when would that have been? Gosh, that probably was 10 years ago. I need to double. Don't quote me on that one, but it was a while ago. Also interesting, and I read this somewhere, and it was actually on the NASA spaceflight.com forums, so I'm going to trust that it's probably correct. So if it's wrong, well, I'll correct it in the description. but Barrett is 65 years old. That means
Hmm.
I think he will be the oldest person to go out on a spacewalk ever. Tom Marshburn was the record holder before that. He was 61 during his 2021 EVA.
Hmm.
So, I don't know if that's a record you necessarily like, but it's a record nonetheless.
That is
So,
cool.
yeah.
Oldest spacewalker.
Yeah. And the oldest person ever to go into orbit, in general, was
Oh, really?
well, no, not him, but
Not him.
not him, but for a little fun tidbits, the oldest person to go into orbit was John Glenn when he did his return to flight in 1998 when he went aboard Space Shuttle Discovery for a week and a half long mission with other
Oh,
people,
wow.
obviously. That was actually the mission. That was the first time I actually saw a space shuttle on TV, obviously.
Mhm.
First time I ever saw a space launch. So I consider that time, I think, gosh, what was it? Was it October 28th, I think, was when the launch was of 98. Anyway, I
Mhm.
consider that when I first fell in
Wow.
love with space. It's a little fun fact there. Now,
That's
it
cool.
didn't snowball until like 2003 after the Columbia accident, but that's you can point everything to that point in time. Now,
Mhm.
the oldest person to ever go into space on a suborbital space, oh gosh, there have been a number of people who are about 90 years old who, over the last couple of years, who have gone up on Blue Origin, and
Oh, wow.
William Shatner was one of them.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
so he was 90 years old. And there was another one that recently went
Oh.
up. He was actually the first selected black astronaut. I can't remember his name now, but they finally got to fly. So
Aw.
so yeah, he was originally part of the Air Force astronaut selection process, and then they canceled their program, and so on. There's a whole thing, and yeah,
Mhm.
but he finally got to fly into space, albeit for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Hey, that's longer than
Yep.
off the Earth.
So
More than halfway.
back to the spacewalks here. So yeah, they're going out tomorrow, and what are they doing out there? They're doing two primary things. They're replacing an RFG, which is a radio frequency group. I think it's just a group of antennas. It's faulty, and they're going to basically take it off of. It looked based on the video from gosh, I don't remember the name, is ESP2, external stowage platform number 2, which I think is right next to the airlock. And they're going to I'll watch the video to clarify in just a second. But they're going to take that and take it off the platform and put it into the airlock to retrieve it. And I'm not actually sure what they're doing with it next. I'll have to see if I can figure that out for next time.
Cool.
Maybe they're going to repair it in the ISS and then do something else with it. Maybe it's going to come back down on a Dragon for
Mhm.
evaluation. Actually, it will probably come back down on a Dragon. But either way, it's faulty, and so they're going to take that out. The other thing they're going to be doing for the duration of the spacewalk is take several, I forget how many areas, 6 or 7 areas around the space station. They're going to swab the space station, certain areas, and for samples, and to see, and put them in containers and put them back on, send them back down to the ground for analysis. The idea is to better understand the ability of microorganisms to survive and reproduce on the space station's exterior, which is kind of neat. I know the Russians have done similar things on the Russian side of the space station. And they also probably want to, I know they talk about microorganisms, but they also probably want to figure out what other residual chemicals and all that stuff from spacewalks, spacecraft thrusters and all that are building up on things. So there's probably a lot of things besides the microorganisms they're looking for, but that's the big one.
That's really cool. It's very interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of fascinating what survives. It's fascinating what survives up in a vacuum.
It really is.
Yeah. It does make you wonder, because I hope I'm not perpetuating a myth here, but I've heard stories that when the Apollo 12 astronauts, when they landed on the moon, they were actually targeting a robotic lander that had landed a couple of years prior, the Surveyor. I forget which Surveyor number it was, but it was, was it Surveyor 3? Somebody in the chat will let me know. But the idea was they wanted to have a pinpoint accuracy, a pinpoint landing, and so get as close as you can to that without landing on top of it, obviously, and land so that you can go over and see what that spacecraft has been like for the last 2-3 years on the surface of the moon. And what they did was they walked up to it and they cut off a couple of pieces and brought them back for retrieval. I do believe there was still some microorganisms dormant, but they had survived the entire time on the moon.
That's insane.
Yeah. So kind of crazy. It's and that's to say nothing about all the gross organisms that are probably floating around on the ISS inside in the pressurized capsules.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You want
to imagine they're cleaning rituals. Oh,
they have to do a lot of cleaning.
I was gonna say, we complain about cleaning on Earth. Can only imagine.
Oh yeah, if you stop cleaning or lax about it, it builds up real quick. I need to find out when this was, but there is a story on the old Russian Mir space station where they were doing some cleaning and they removed a panel, and out floats this giant basketball-sized blob of moldy water just floating out. Sorry for anybody who's eating right now, but I need to figure that one out, which mission that was from. But it was, yeah, the Mir space station was kind of gross, which makes me wonder what surprises are there hiding on the International Space Station as well.
That's although a space station for me.
Yeah, we do a lot of space station cleaning, a lot more than we used to, so maybe not so much, but and that's just just the stuff.
It's a nightmare.
It kind of is. Yeah. Living in Space. There's a really good book by Scott Kelly. I can't remember the name of the book, but if you just look up a book by Scott Kelly, the astronaut Scott Kelly, he talks about a lot of the fun stuff of living in orbit, like making sure that you're sleeping next to an air vent. Otherwise, you don't want to start sleeping in your own carbon dioxide buildup. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
that's terrifying.
Yeah, if you're not careful, because there's nothing to pull the carbon dioxide down and separate it. So that's why they have a lot of these vents and everything. Air circulation is very important.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's
life
that.
Support.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So when last week I showed you the video of the inside Starliner, and they had these red hoses. That was the circulation they were putting in there to make sure that the air is sufficiently mixed up and you're not
their lifeline, basically.
Exactly, because you can't smell or taste carbon dioxide, so all of a sudden you might just start breathing it in. You'll notice you'll notice the carbon dioxide effects if you're not paying attention. You'll just feel like a headache after a while. So
yeah.
Anyway,
ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, space is you got to be trained. It's not a walk in the park.
No.
So
absolutely.
So yeah, that's the spacewalk that's happening tomorrow. Well, that's a lot of tangents for tomorrow's spacewalks about a faulty antenna and swapping microbes.
They'll have fun.
Yeah, exactly. And so the next spacewalk isn't until July 2nd, which when it obviously
it's not that far away, actually.
So about 8 days after this. And then they don't have a crew assigned for it yet, but their goal is to replace a gyroscope assembly, relocate an antenna. I need to figure out what antenna that is, and prep for future alpha magnetic spectrometer upgrades. And the alpha magnetic spectrometer is a particle physics experiment that's been up there since 2011. So So
Oh,
there's
wow.
that. So, and when it gets closer, we'll have more information about that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the big things I wanted to talk about this week. I have on here, if we want to, I know this is primarily a human spaceflight channel, but I don't mind talking about just general space exploration stuff because it's all fun. You know, it's casual conversations about human spaceflight. So the next
Under the
thing,
same umbrella.
yeah, exactly. Now I don't personally know much information about this. I'm hoping you do, Sarah, about the GOES-U satellite that's getting ready to launch.
I was trying to actually go to the NASA social for that, but I guess they were full.
Oh yeah,
So I
that
don't have
happens.
too much. Yeah, I don't have too much information, but I wanted to know more.
Well, I can at least tell
Um,
you that's the next major NASA mission, and that's
mm,
it's a satellite launching on the Falcon Heavy rocket, and
mm.
I think it's a fully let me check to make sure I'm not lying here. I think it's a fully expendable Falcon 9. I could be wrong, and I will fact check that in real time right now.
Isn't it like a new weather satellite?
It's a new weather satellite. What does GOES stand
That's
for?
really cool.
GOES stands for geostation
Geographical. Oh, sorry.
geostationary. Go ahead if you want to.
I don't know it.
It's fine. Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite. That's the GOES. And the letter is U. And I don't know if it's going to get a different number once it's in orbit. It may or may not. I don't know. Sometimes they do that for like TDRS tracking and data relay satellites. They usually have a letter on the ground and then they get a number when they're in orbit. I don't know if it's the same case here. Where are we at here? Let's see if it's fully expendable. Expendable. Nope, no. Just the center core of the Falcon Heavy is going to be expended, which is basically normal now, and the two side boosters, booster 1072 and 1086, both on their first flight. So it's going to be a nice, clean-looking rocket for SpaceX. Both of those will be coming back down to land at landing zones 1 and 2. So if you happen to be in the area now, I neglected to say the date and time. It's Tuesday, June 25th. Go ahead.
5:16 p.m.
5:16 p.m. There we go. If you happen to be on the Space Coast, go watch it. It's going to be a heck of a show. I had personally never seen a Falcon Heavy launch, but those two center cores coming back down to landing zones, hearing those double triple sonic booms is, from what I hear, is quite an experience. So,
I might have to go see it then.
you might. I mean, I don't know
Just
how
go
easy it is.
drive.
I don't know how easy it is for you to drive over there just randomly, but
Like a 2-hour drive.
yeah, there you go. I personally would do it for 2 hours, but I'm also, I'm obsessed.
I'll meet you there.
Yeah, well, it's a little further for me.
I know.
It's a 24 hours for me. 20 hours.
Oh,
But,
wow.
if I were to drive.
You
What
gotta
was
come
it?
to Florida.
I know. It would be fun to live here. We live there on the Space
The
Coast.
Space Coast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't think I have any interest anywhere else in Florida. Nothing against Florida, but
Yeah, right.
I would go
don't
for the
blame
Space
you.
Coast.
For sure.
Not trying to knock on anybody or anything like that. I love
That's
rockets.
relatable.
If it weren't for the
Same.
rockets, I probably wouldn't have any interest in Florida.
Yep.
But
I was dragged here when I was 4, so I didn't really have a choice.
yeah. So, and to be fair, there are plenty of beautiful areas in Florida. Everything's got nice areas. But personally, I'm more of a mountains and a mountains kind of guy.
Oh yeah, that's not Florida at all.
No. That's the opposite. People, I'm from Kansas, and people like to say that Kansas is flat, but Florida is flatter.
Agreeable.
Kansas is actually not very flat. There's plenty of there's a whole place called the Flint Hills and everything.
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean they're still
I've never
hills.
been.
They're hills, but they're very beautiful in their own way. So,
I'm terrified of mountains. I don't know if I could do that.
well, you got to find the right mountains.
That's true.
Yeah, start small. Start with the Appalachians.
Start with the hills.
The hills, exactly. So, but yes, it's launching on Tuesday at 5:16 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That is 22, 6. No, it's 21, 16 p.m. UTC. Get my UTC conversion there. So there's supposed to be a NASA social there. Obviously, I didn't apply. It sounds like you applied, didn't get it. It's too late for anybody else to apply for it. But since we were,
I applied for it after the deadline.
Yeah.
I
Well, you know, you never know. Yeah. But
Martina was like, "Sorry."
Oh no.
It's okay.
But for those anybody interested, find the NASA social website, or I keep forgetting to put that link up there. There's a place where they list NASA socials when they have them. They usually have one or two available throughout for you to sign up for. Sometimes it just depends on what's going on throughout the year, but sign up for it. You know, you get a lot of behind the scenes access to things, and well, you don't win if you don't play. You know, you sign up for it, and if you get it but can't do it, then you can make that decision when you get it, but you can't get it unless you apply. But anyway, I highly recommend.
Yep, shoot your shot. That's what happened to me.
So, was there anything else about Ghost U that you wanted to talk about?
For me, no, that was it. I'm really excited. I might actually go see it.
If you do, that'd be great. I'm trying to think of a good place do you want to see. It's going to be from 39A. You might check to see if Playa Linda Beach is open for that launch. It probably won't be, but that would be good for the initial launch. But if you really want a good view of the returning boosters and sound, probably the Port Canaveral. Yeah.
Easy.
It just depends on what you want to go see, or the beach, Cocoa Beach, or something like that, or the Jetty Pier. The Jetty Pier is probably going to be the closest place that you can see the landing. So but I think there's a cost to get in there. I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. So
easy.
Yep. The fourth item I wanted to talk about, but I think we're running up on at least an hour before our technical difficulties, was and I probably should save it for next week anyway. I probably will. I kind of wanted to talk about the recently released Government Accountability Office report on Orion and the internal baseline schedule for Artemis 3 over the next couple of years. Right now, it's scheduled for no earlier than September of 2026, but everybody knows that's Artemis 3, for those that don't know, is the first crewed mission to the surface of the moon under the Artemis program. We're not talking Artemis 2. That's the flyby mission. It's the mission after that. And currently it's supposed to fly no earlier than September of 2026. But I guess somewhere I read that the internal baseline was like September of 27 or 28. I forgot. Maybe it was 28. It sounds like NASA knows that they're going to be significantly delaying it, and it's just a matter of how they go about doing all that stuff. So I think that'd be a good topic for next week, possibly.
So Artemis 2, they're not actually landing?
No, Artemis 2, the one, the astronauts we met when we were in Florida, they're just doing a free return trajectory around the moon.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they are not landing. They will get really close to the moon, and they will be the closest people to the moon in more than 50 years.
That's still really cool. Yeah. But it's Artemis 3.
Artemis 3 is currently planning on landing. So cool. Artemis 2 just requires the Orion and SLS rocket, and they're going to do some proximity operation tests. There's two phases to its orbit. Once it gets into low Earth orbit, it's going to take the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, which is the upper stage of the SLS rocket, and they're going to fire it into a high Earth orbit, not a translunar injection, high Earth orbit. So, I don't remember how high it is. Is it
just kissing the Kármán line?
No, it's well above the Kármán line. Well above the Kármán line. It's going to be like, I want to say it's like 10 or 20,000 miles up. Really high Earth orbit, and that'll allow them to test communications, but they'll detach from the upper stage, and they'll do a fly around and practice rendezvous techniques for Orion itself, because Orion's not docking for anything on this mission, but the next mission will include docking, so you might as well get some of the test activities done here on that mission. Cool. And so after they do that, then it's gonna come back, it's gonna fall back down toward Earth at its low point of its orbit, which is like, I don't know, 300 or 400 miles up above Earth. And then it's going to fire the service module engines of Orion to propel it all the way out to do a free return trajectory of the moon, similar to what they did during Apollo 13. Just slingshot right back around. And that whole mission from launch to splashdown is supposed to be about 10 days.
Oh, wow.
And that'll test everything. So the
Mm.
voyage out and back, it's 4 days out. Is that 4 or 5 days out? Is that right? Yeah, 4 or 5 days, 4.5 days out, 4.5 days back.
Mm-hmm.
And then, however long it takes for them to do that short orbit as well. So I think the whole thing is technically 3 orbits, but it's 3 very long, very varying sizes of their orbits. So,
right.
But yeah, Artemis 3 is the complex one that's going to involve SpaceX launching a fuel depot with their Starship, then refilling that fuel depot upwards of 10 times or more, then launching the lunar Starship, dock, refuel to it. All this is uncrewed still. Send that lunar Starship all the way to the near rectilinear halo orbit around the moon, which is like a highly elliptical orbit around the moon, which deals with multiple gravity positions of the. It's basically, it's a gravitational balancing point, but it basically makes from Earth's point of view, it looks like a highly elliptical orbit around the moon. But and then so it'll go there and loiter there for, I don't know, a couple of weeks while Artemis 3 and SLS roll out and get ready to launch to the moon. And then they'll dock to Starship, and then 2 people, 2 astronauts. Yeah, I know, right? Our little spacecraft is growing up.
Little capsule.
The Orion capsule will dock with the lunar Starship, and then 2 astronauts will go into lunar Starship, and 2 will stay on Orion. And the lunar Starship will go down and land at the south pole of the moon, spend about 6 days on the surface of the moon before coming back to meet Orion and the other 2 astronauts, and then undock and then come home. And that mission will be, 6 days on the surface. It's probably a 2-week mission.
And that's going to be in 2026?
No earlier than September of 2026. It will not happen in 2026.
Oh, no.
But anyway, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that, the public, that NASA Public Affairs doesn't usually talk about for obvious reasons. I'm not faulting him for that. But the Government Accountability Office did an audit of the program. It'd be kind of neat to talk about some of the ins and outs and some realistic timelines that we can infer from things, and how kind of the overall health of the Artemis program. Yeah. Or we could talk more about Starliner. It just depends on what happens over the course of the next week or so. So
true.
Let me know in the comments below what you guys are you guys you viewers are interested in us discussing, and we'll see what we can do. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
For me, no.
No. Okay, I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap this up. So we'll say that's all the time we have for this week's Kármán Line Café. Thanks for listening to us nerds have a casual conversation about spaceflight. Once again, if you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and give it a like, and feel free to share with friends and family. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. We're hovering right around 6,000 subscribers, and it would be amazing if you all helped us get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If not, that's no big deal, but 10,000 subscribers would be a huge milestone for all of us. Thanks again for watching. There's so much happening in the world of spaceflight right now. I love sharing it with you all. If you have any suggestions for next week, like I said, let me know in the comments below. And let's go ahead and let me know in the comments also what your favorite space mission of the past, what your favorite space mission is, past, present, or the future. Thanks to Sarah for being an awesome co-host. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Having somebody to talk to is much easier than staring into the abyss of the camera.
Absolutely. Got you.
So yeah.
Nerds unite.
Yeah. You have any other parting words?
Stay hydrated and stay nerdy.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks again for watching. And as always, Ad Astra.
Ad Astra.